Demand drought. Bitcoin ETFs sell off as Nvidia's earnings and SpaceX's upcoming IPO hog the spotlight. Can the new Fed chair get us out of the hole? Perps and privacy. There are a few bright spots in the cryptoverse, however, as a number of coins and tokens defy market gravity to post big gains. We look at two of the strongest and assess whether or not they still have room to run. And we'll have Matt with today's TA, tweets of the week, dates for your diary, and much more besides. This is the Coin Bureau News, live. Yes, hello everyone. This is indeed the Coin Bureau News Live. A very happy Monday to one and all of you. It's great to see you. It's great to be back. And Nick, hello sir, how are you?
I'm great, Guy. Great. Good to be back. Last week I had to take a bit of a break from the news. I saw DC handle it perfectly, so I'm glad to be back.
He did a fantastic job. He wasn't as well dressed as you are today, though.
I had to bring my A game, man.
Energy.
I had to bring the A game, my stylish threads to the stream today. It's gonna be as a backup in case this crypto stuff doesn't work out, and I want to go and work as a roadside construction worker. I need a high vis option, one that can also allow me to tan. So yeah.
Versatile. That's what all good clothing should be these days. Versatile. Yes. So it's great to have Nick back, and we are going to be talking today about the week just gone in crypto, all the madness that was going on there, and then and sort of wider markets as well. And then we'll be digging, as we said, into a couple of the big success stories dominating the charts at the moment. Before we get started, you'll notice that down there's a little progress bar. If we get to 30% on that, then we will get Nick a full suit in that color that he's currently wearing, and then he'll be the perfect embodiment of Dubai,
pimped out as per usual.
Yeah. I think a full suit in that color, you'll look like that guy who's always wandering around Dubai with his top off. It's a good look to go for. So 30% we need to get to on the like. So hammer that like button if you want to see Nick in a full orange suit for next week.
I love the fact that we resorted to the goal for getting likes is no longer giving anybody alpha, no longer going and bringing new things to the stream. It's just what can Nick and Guy wear in the next stream. That's increasingly ludicrous.
I was hoping that I would get some new clothes out of it, and so far we haven't got enough likes to get there. So
the only thing people care less about are alpha guys or how we dressed.
Look, this is what you got to do in a bear market. Once things improve, we'll start giving people alpha again or whatever. Okay, so let's get started then, shall we? What happened? Let's go back to last week and Monday, where Bitcoin's biggest buyer was once again at it. Michael Saylor acquired just short of 25,000 BTC last Monday for, what was it? Just over $2 billion. Not bad, right?
Madness, yeah. It just keeps on hoovering up that coin. Doesn't matter what's going on, Saylor's going to buy. And then despite that, which is crazy, despite that massive buy from Saylor, Bitcoin still fell. Like, what? Seriously? Get with the picture, man.
Yeah. So, and this is going to be a bit of a theme of the week that we're looking back on, and possibly the week that we're looking forward to as well, unfortunately. But Bitcoin, not too impressed. It's sort of seen Michael Saylor buying vast amounts before. And we are going to talk about Michael Saylor again and strategy again, because, there is a certain irony to this massive buying, we'll dig into a bit later on. But yes, so this was Monday. Stocks as well. There was stuff going on there because of the old one of Iran.
Yeah, exactly. So news that he had called off potential strikes on Iran, and that caused stock markets to rally. And then on Tuesday, the long-awaited innovation exemption had got an update. This is from the SEC. And Guy, what's that innovation exemption again?
So this is going to basically make a lot of crypto stuff, and yes, that is the technical term, a lot of crypto stuff legal in the United States for a certain period of time. We've actually been talking about this for quite a long time. I mean, this was originally supposed to come in January. And then I don't know. I guess sort of the Clarity Act shenanigans and everything else going on sort of relegated it to the back burner. But yeah, basically, it's sort of designed to encourage building and innovation in the crypto space and beyond, I think, as well. So the crypto projects will, in theory, be able to do a whole load of things that were either illegal under previous administrations, or occupying a sort of legal gray area. So the sort of stuff that you might be able to do, but might equally get you a knock on the door from Gary Gensler and his goon squad. So it is, potentially a very big development for crypto. But like I say, we've been waiting for it for quite a long time. So I will believe it when I see it.
Yeah, amen. There was some other good news on the regulatory front last week as well. This one from Trump. He made an announcement that this is big news. So he ordered the Fed to grant crypto firms direct access to Fed master accounts. And what this would basically allow is crypto firms to basically move money more like banks instead of having to rely on banks. So they cut out the middleman for crypto firms. It's great news.
Okay. That's the sort of achingly boring thing. Sorry, that is really dull, but it's the sort of really dull thing that actually probably means quite a lot. Will probably make quite a difference if it goes into plan.
Yep. And then on Wednesday, this was also, we had on Wednesday, very big day. It was Nvidia earnings day, and the results they spoke for themselves in terms of the numbers. Yeah, crazy stuff. Revenue growth of 85% year on year. I mean, that's kind of like startup growth for a company that's the biggest company in the world in terms of market cap. It's crazy.
Absolutely crazy. What's crazier though, Nick, is that Nvidia's stock was not impressed. It looked like a meme coin at one point.
Yeah, and I think the main thing here was that expectations are so goddamn high that anything that wasn't, shooting the lights out beyond even that caused the markets to sell off. In this particular case, there were concerns that this massive hyper growth phase is potentially leveling off, and analysts are expecting revenue growth to drop to around only 36% next year.
Pathetic. 36% revenue growth. Come on. It's interesting. That FT headline there mentioning the dividend as well. That was kind of crazy because they raised it to, I think, 25 cents a share from 1 cent a share. Basically 25x the dividend. I mean, I can't remember what sort of price range Nvidia is at. I mean, it's not a huge dividend by any stretch of the imagination, but 25x it. I mean, I wonder whether that played some role in it. But you'd think that would make the stock more attractive if people...
Well, I don't know. It depends on if it's forward guided or it's just a one-time dividend. Because if it had been for current shareholders until an ex-dividend date or when the dividend date is, that could depend on things. It's like, oh, wow, NVIDIA's paying all the current. So if you hold NVIDIA, great, up to that date. But, we also, on that day, we had Fed minutes that were released, and they showed that a majority of officials actually favored rate hikes, maybe, or thought rate hikes may be needed.
Yeah, this is definitely the direction of travel. I think it's no longer a question of if, but when. I think they hike rates. So that's something to look forward to. Maybe is there a Fed meeting this month? Or is it next month?
I think it's not this week, so not this month. Next month there will be.
Okay. Meanwhile, we also had the SpaceX prospectus drop. This, more absolutely mind-blowing stats on this one. Raised $75 billion, and they now could be worth up to $2 trillion.
Yeah, and just to put those numbers into context, obviously it's the largest IPO ever, more so than Saudi Aramco. But I try to put these numbers into context in my own tweet. So, largest IPO ever, larger than Australia's GDP, larger than Bitcoin's market cap, and $1.2 trillion greater than the market cap of the combined US aerospace industry. So that's Boeing, Lockheed Martin, General Dynamics. Madness.
Yeah, I mean, those are crazy stats. I mean, it kind of shows that Australians generally need to pull their finger out a little bit more. But that's been a recurring.
Where's the Australian space program? Where these guys at? Come on, they need to catch up.
Stuck firmly on Earth, says the men from Britain and South Africa.
Matt will have a thing or two to say after this.
Yes. At least Australia gets the right of reply later on, and also I'm sure Brett will have something to say about it as well. Meanwhile, going back to crypto, obviously all this excitement around SpaceX and Nvidia. Bitcoin did actually catch a bid, got up to 78K on I think this was Wednesday again.
Yeah, it was. But we did unfortunately on Thursday see an outflow increase from the ETFs. So that was bad news. But good news is that the Fed did listen to Trump about that master account thing.
Oh, yes. So this is actually happening. This isn't just an empty, like, I'm going to do this and then nothing.
Yeah. So limited master accounts being opened up. And then on Thursday, we got potentially the first reports of a potential deal of some description in Iran. I mean, feels like Groundhog Day, honestly.
Yeah, doesn't this happen all the time? Someone tweets and says, "Yep, we're about to have a deal. It's all good." This from the author of the Master of the Art of the Deal, by the way, which is a nice little irony. But yeah, still waiting for that one. Which takes us to Friday. We had a slight update on the Clarity Act. It's not all that good, I'm afraid. It's actually now fighting for floor time. With various other bits of legislation, all trying to get jammed in before the August recess, which is not far away, actually.
It's not at all, yeah. And I think that this is also a bit of a spanner was thrown in the works of the legislative process last week because of this whole Trump, what's it called, that anti-weaponization fund or something, and that caused many senators to basically all the bills that were coming to vote or something that caused threw a spanner in the works as well. So yeah, unfortunately that may struggle to get floor time. We'll have to see. But something else that's quite disconcerting was that on Friday, now this is crazy, the Consumer Sentiment Index, the University of Michigan survey, it came out with the lowest reading on record ever since inception. And this is the whole K-shaped economy. And here's a few graphs just to show you how crazy it is. So, consumer sentiment, inflation expectations, economic conditions, and financial situation. So this is happening at the same time that the S&P 500 is at record highs, NASDAQ is at record highs. It's just wild.
Yeah. It really is that sense that, like, maybe sort of 5% of the population, this world population, is doing just fine, and the other 95% are just absolutely underwater. It's worrying because inequality that points towards rising inequality, and rising inequality never ends well. So I think this is a story that's building towards something. And yeah, I mean, it just illustrates this whole idea. We've talked about the K-shaped economy in videos before, haven't we?
Let them eat cake. Let them use AI. Oh, man. Anyways, also, big day on Friday. Kevin Warsh was sworn in. So apparently the first pro-crypto Fed chair was sworn in. I hope that his tenure will be as positive for crypto prices as the first pro-crypto SEC chair and the first pro-crypto president.
Yes, talk about a tough job. I mean, that seemed. I think we might have discussed this last time, but like, what a time to assume a job that you would imagine isn't the most straightforward of jobs anyway. But at a time when inflation is ticking back up, there's a war on. We're in the midst of the biggest kind of economic disruption of maybe ever. It's like, welcome to your new office, Kevin. Make yourself comfortable.
You know that there used to be that there on Discovery Channel there was that documentary on the world's most dangerous jobs. You know,
Oh yeah,
elastic crab fishing. You know, going down mines, being the new Fed chair under Trump with inflation ticking up and an Iran war going on.
he's one step below. Filipino pearl diver, Filipino crab fishing. Meanwhile, the war tempo was heating up again going into the weekend. It was all starting to look like we might have more bombs and missiles raining down.
Yep, exactly. As per usual, just going into the weekend when the markets are closed and they can't sell anything but Bitcoin and crypto. So Bitcoin dumped below 75K for the first time for quite a while, which wasn't good. But then we got some bullish news of a potential framework, right?
Yes, potentially. I love the fact that he decided to list the full names of every single person who was on and where they were from on this call. I mean, surely he could have just said
and all their
Saudi Arabia,
all their five middle names. You know, Isa Al Khalifa of Bahrain. Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah,
and he had to, of course,
They don't really go in for shorter names in this part of the world. So, but yes, I mean, once you realised everyone that was at the table, it was pretty high level stuff. But yes, it was sort of talking up the possibility of a deal.
He was, and Bitcoin then managed to recover back above 77K. But then again, we heard that the no deal was imminent yet, apparently. So, he said he'll be making an announcement shortly, but the deal could still fall apart.
Yes. But never fear, because someone was still buying. Michael Saylor was aping in to bonds.
That's right. Bonds. I mean, bonds, so literally buying lending money to someone, essentially money to someone. I wonder I don't know if he disclosed which bonds he was buying. Hopefully it's actually like well rated bonds that maybe like US sovereign bonds instead of like Oracle bonds or Blue Owl bonds
South African
or whatever
bonds
yeah, exactly. Or Iranian Turkish bonds, yeah.
It's like, oh yes, it is quite important which actual bonds we're buying. Yes, so this was interesting, and I mean, again, like, this is all the more interesting in terms of the fact that Saylor has actually been talking about selling Bitcoin, because obviously STRC, the preferred stock, comes with a fairly hefty dividend. They have to find north of $1 billion in cash every year to pay this dividend, and he was sort of talking about the possibility of selling Bitcoin to fund that.
Yeah, well, his new wording is, instead of buy Bitcoin, it's be a net buyer of Bitcoin. So it's no longer just buy Bitcoin; it's be a never sell. No, it's gone from never sell your Bitcoin to be a net buyer of Bitcoin. It's all in the detail.
It's all in the detail, like the South African bonds.
Exactly.
I'm a net buyer of South African bonds. Okay, so that was a sort of fairly surreal end to the week, if you like. Michael Saylor buying bonds for a change, and yes, I mean, I guess we assume that it's U.S. Treasuries, and it is worth mentioning as well. One of the big sort of macro stories of the week has been the fact that the U.S. Treasury 30-year yield has gone above 5%, and I think the 10-year yield is going in that direction as well. So rising bond yields is not good for risk assets.
Yeah, it's not. And I think that, the 10 years above 4.5, the 30-year is the highest level since 2007. So, yeah, additional interest being paid by the U.S. taxpayer. So what's to come this week? Today, actually, it's Memorial Day. So I hope our American viewers are relaxing and taking in the day and what it means. So that means, of course, markets are closed today on the US side, but we do have this week important economic data coming. We've got the PCE, the Personal Consumption Expenditures Inflation Index. and then some initial jobless claims, and some GDP numbers. So quickly, just looking at some charts for you guys that I found interesting. This was last week from K33 Research, and they specifically looked at the relationship between previous bear market rallies, so the rallies after we've hit a bear market bottom and then a rally again, to a resistance level of the 200-day moving average. And previously, the 200-day moving average has been a strong resistance level, and it's sent us lower again after a bear market rally after we've hit it. And what's interesting is about 2 weeks ago, we hit the 200-day moving average again. So K33 says that this time it's different, that the setup does not resemble those of previous market rallies, and they think that 60K was the bottom. I tend to agree with them, but it's interesting to note that, as per usual, we've rejected off of the 200-day moving average. So that's that. And then quickly looking at the daily chart, what's interesting here as well is we are now in the middle of the bull market support band. So we were previously above that, which is great, but we've fallen just into the middle of that. And we are now trading within a previous resistance zone that we tried to break previously at about 75 to 78K. That's also just below the true market mean, which is an on-chain indicator of the average market price. So we're at a bit of a critical level right now, but I think that honestly, it will all just be driven by what happens out of the Middle East and any sort of updates on what's going on with this deal, should it materialize.
Yeah. Very true. Very true. Okay, now, folks, these markets are pretty crazy at the moment, but if you're looking for a place to trade them, then there is no better place than BitGet. You can not only can you trade crypto there as well, including a couple of the cryptos that we're about to talk about, but you can also use it to buy tokenized TradFi assets as well. So you could, as long as you didn't tell Michael Saylor, you could swap your Bitcoin for, say, tokenized gold and other assets, right, Nick?
Exactly, yeah. So you can go onto BitGet right now, scan the QR code if you don't have an account already, and we also have on offer just exclusively for the Coin Bureau viewers, up to 50K in deposit bonuses. And you can trade directly with USDT, all amounts of crypto and TradFi assets, up to 500 times leverage, but we'd recommend starting a bit lower. But, with BitGet, you've got the deepest liquidity and the lowest slippage. So if you guys don't have an account, again, just scan the QR code over there or hit the link down in the description, create a BitGet account, avail yourself of the deposit bonuses, and trade those TradFi markets.
Absolutely. Okay, I'm just going to give you a quick rundown of the sentiment in the comments. Generally pretty good. Damn boy, someone brought big guns to the office. There you go, Nick. I presume that's you.
Sounds like guns out, bro. Ain't gonna lie.
Someone pointing out Yaz 3001, long-time listener, never live, but as it's a bank holiday in the UK, I can make it. Crypto not made it yet for me to quit my job. Yes, it's not only is it Memorial Day over in the US, but it's a bank holiday back in the dear old UK. High temperatures, over 30 degrees in some places.
Over 30 degrees. How on earth are they managing to live?
I know. I think generally UK society starts to collapse in the high 20s. So I can only imagine the whole place is up in flames right now. So I hope you guys back home all enjoy your bank holiday. Enjoy it irresponsibly. What else have we got? Craig is pointing out, must be bad. Nick can't afford a full orange Bitcoin top. Yeah, to go light on the fabric.
Down bad. The sleeves come extra.
Yeah,
running low on cash.
Sleeves are a bull market luxury. Bog Miles says, in my opinion, it all comes down to the bear market years. If he can keep strategy up through 2026 and the 4-year cycle remains intact, strategy should flourish. Yeah.
Yes. That's a big caveat, though, if the 4-year cycle remains intact.
Yes.
Big assumptions, yeah.
Big assumptions, but I guess that's the playbook Saylor is working from. A few replies to my thorough, absolutely uncalled for and needless jibe at Australia and Australians. Australia, we have shrimps, barbecues, beaches, koalas, kangaroos. Enough said. Yeah, that's true. That's. I mean, I've got
That's
no.
all you need, right? That's all you need in life, you know.
Yeah.
Just be careful, guy, because you don't eat you don't eat shrimps. Neither do I. So
I know it really limits my options. I'm not a big fan of kangaroos either, to be honest. But yes, and then I noticed this one as well. I think maybe we've inherited someone from BitBoy's old audience. All the wars, but no one has the balls to shake up markets using a nuclear weapon. Okay.
I mean, okay. Well, hey, guy, I mean that uranium trade of yours has probably gone up then.
Yes, maybe. Yes, I must check my huge uranium holdings. So yeah, good to see everyone keeping their spirits up in the comments as well. So let's talk a bit more in depth about crypto, shall we, Nick? Should we talk about two of the big success stories of this year, I guess?
Yeah, and they're altcoins, man. They're altcoins. It's not altcoin season, but it's the season for some. And in this case, it is HYPE and ZEC, and I absolutely love what ChatGPT has done with this image, guy. I think it's encapsulated the feeling we both have around the fact that although it's got the detail on the Dom Perignon bottle, but it wasn't able to get the detail in terms of the actual price of Hyperliquid.
Yes, we'd be doing the exact opposite if Hyperliquid had crashed to under $30. I would be buying again at that level. I can tell you that. I did actually sell some HYPE recently into the rally. I still hold HYPE, but I did sell some. And yeah, if it were to go back towards that level, I'd be hoovering the stuff up. But yeah, the AI's done a good job there, Nick. It's noticed your fondness for Dom Perignon champagne. And it also hasn't made you look about 20 years older.
I know. Finally,
these
I didn't have
to give it so advanced.
And I didn't have to give it any sort of prompts not to.
Did you have to give it a prompt for all the hotties in the background as well, or did
I just said models and bottles of ZEC, and I just said like a scene of models and bottles with Zcash and Hyperliquid, bro. So it used its imagination.
Okay. All right. Interesting. Yes, and Kian Lynham also mentioning NEAR. Yes, that's been on a tear as well. But we are going to talk about HYPE and ZEC today. So Hyperliquid, HYPE is up 101% this year. And if you've been paying attention to what's been going on in crypto recently, you'll probably have a fair idea of what's been driving it. But there's quite a lot going on there. For one thing, it's been absolutely dominating weekly fee revenue. And this is something I didn't realize until we were researching this earlier. That's more in recent weeks, it's earned more in fees than all the other L1s combined. Yeah,
it's crazy. And those DEX volumes are also converging with, and they're actually sometimes also surpassing that of Solana.
Crazy. That's crazy. And of course, that fee, that volume means fees, and those fees obviously go back towards buying back HYPE. They've spent well over $1 billion buying back HYPE. So we've got this sort of golden, I guess, trifecta, if you like: real revenue, real users, and I think this is really important as well. Maybe this gets overlooked a little bit. No VC unlocks dumping on the chart.
Yeah, none, exactly. The distribution went entirely to the community. And then we also had the launch of the first ever Hyperliquid ETF, and it was oh so hot. The ETF was built by Bitwise, and it saw a week one total of $22.3 million in early inflows.
Yeah, very. And I think sort of saw higher and higher inflows over the course of the week, from one day to the next, which I think it was Eric Balkunas pointed out that is actually quite unusual. You don't normally see inflows getting higher by the day. Huge, very encouraging inflows there. Meanwhile, Bitwise has also added HYPE to its own balance sheet.
Yeah, skin in the game. So they're using the fees generated by the ETF to purchase HYPE for its own book. And Matt Hogan is out there shilling, talking his own book, with calling it one of crypto's most undervalued assets.
Yeah. And if you think Hyperliquid is going to rest on its laurels and slow down and just kind of stay in its lane and do its thing, then you'd be disappointed, I'm afraid, because there is a lot going on there. It's now challenging the likes of the CME, but also prediction markets like Kalshi and Poly market, right?
Yep, and this is because of HYPE4, which is the outcome of these markets. Basically, binary predictions on contracts on politics, economics, and crypto events. So this is competing directly with Kalshi and Poly markets. So think about this: the combined platform advantage of Hyperliquid. An example, you can basically bet perps on Nvidia's share price with the outcome of a market on whether it actually beats earnings, for example, as a binary outcome. So you're betting on one, the price, and two, a earnings beat in a binary contract. It's crazy what you can do, and that's all within Hyperliquid.
Yeah. So huge amount of other products, other markets that they can offer as well. And it's interesting, the CME, because I don't know if you remember this, Nick. I was writing about this in the Coin Bureau Club Discord earlier today, but the CME on Friday is going 24/7. So this is the last week of the CME gap.
I know, it's a sad week for me, to be honest. I actually also noted that it's going to be. We're going to talk about it in things to look for this coming week. But yeah, it's been a long journey.
I knew that I could tell there was something on your mind, Nick. I could tell that there was an albatross around your neck weighing you down, and that's it. This is a sad day. So let's hope, everyone, that we can get at least a couple of CME gaps in before they become a thing of the past, if only for Nick's fragile.
Just for me, guys. Just for me. Anyway, so Hyperliquid is one of them. But the other one, as we mentioned, was Zcash or ZEC. And this has surged 200% from its March lows. And one of the main catalysts here was a disclosure by Multicoin that they had actually bought HYPE. And Multicoin is a big crypto VC, for those who don't know.
Yeah. So there were a combination of factors that have driven the move for ZEC, and I must say, obviously, ZEC was one of the big success stories towards the end of last year, and I, for one, sort of thought when it ran out of steam, I think early this year, I was sort of like, well, that's kind of inevitable. I'm not all that surprised about that. So the comeback has been perhaps even more surprising for some than the initial rally. But as I say, there's a few things behind it. There's a genuine institutional narrative. You mentioned Multicoin there, Nick. There was also a significant short squeeze as well. Those who were bearish were very much surprised. And a big listing for ZEC as well.
Yeah, exactly. Over on Robinhood, which is obviously opening it up to a massive retail audience. And something else that possibly flew under the radar earlier this year was that the SEC had formally closed its investigation into the Zcash Foundation with no enforcement action. So this, of course, removed a major regulatory question and overhang that had been creating uncertainty for ZEC earlier this year.
Yeah. And we should also mention as well, one of the sort of narratives bubbling under, and I think has been sort of a net bad for Bitcoin, or a resistance for Bitcoin, if you like, has been the whole question of quantum resistance. A lot of people are very, very concerned that Bitcoin is not going to be able to get its act together in time to head off the threat from a quantum computer, which seems to be depending on who you ask, quantum computing may actually be closer than many people had assumed. But Zcash, on the other hand, being obviously a lot more centralized for one thing, but Zcash seems to be getting its ducks in a row with regards to quantum resistance.
Exactly. And this is really important as well in the context of last week, there was the disclosure that the US government is actually investing $2 billion into 9 quantum computing companies. So yeah, the quantum developments are taking place at a breakneck pace. And I think that right now, cryptocurrencies that are taking the threat seriously and implementing changes and upgrades to ward it off are going to catch a bid above those that aren't. And this still leaves the question open about what's happening with Bitcoin, because right now, it still seems to be slow walking this, the updates for quantum.
Yeah. It's interesting, isn't it? So ZEC seems to have a sort of dual narrative thing going on there. Not only the privacy angle, but also you'd expect a sort of quantum resistant version of Bitcoin as well. So
Yeah.
you know, I guess it can't hurt to have two narratives going at the same time. Brett does actually make a good point here, and this was something I did wonder about a while back as well. Won't be enough power for quantum to operate, as AI will steal all the power first. So I do think we're heading for that sort of situation where it's like we have all these incredible technologies, but we literally, you know, we can't have them all running at once. So we'll just end up having to switch off, you know, less important stuff like, I don't know, air conditioning or life support machines or something.
I mean, yes, possibly. Or they could just invest in nuclear technology, nuclear fusion. I think there's another big thing, and there's quite a few stocks that have done pretty well on that side. We've covered some of them in the Coin Bureau Club, and the research is there. But if you think that energy could be a constraint in the future for the AI build out, then stocks, nuclear fusion stocks, are interesting.
Yeah, we should maybe do a deep dive into some of those sometime on the live stream. Yeah, well, I'm just waiting for Claude to solve this problem. I mean, if Claude can rescue a guy's Bitcoin from his wallet, which was a tweet we touched on last week, then surely it can get round to figuring out how to get nuclear fusion working at scale. And then it'll power itself from quantum computers and everything will be fine.
You're assuming that it will want to try and keep us alive with that. In that, Claude's probably going to go and unplug. So have you thought about unplugging all of the life support machines? If you believe that AI is, kind of Skynet kind of thing.
Claude has its plan. If Claude is ready to produce nuclear fusion whenever it wants, but it's obviously not part of the plan it has for us yet. So we'll see about that. Okay, so that is HYPE and ZEC. I think both of them still got room to run, there's a fair bit of excitement around kind of AI themed and privacy and AI. Seem to be the big narratives at the moment, and then Hyperliquid is a kind of narrative all of its own. So I imagine we've got more to come from all of those. All right, Nick, shall we go across to Matt for a bit of TA?
Let's do it. Bring our Aussie team member on to let us know his thoughts on what we think about Australia's major exports, and of course some TA.
Charts, red or green, calling the moves before they're seen. What's up, Coin Bureau fam? Matt Stella here from Coin Bureau Trading. So I'm going to give you guys a quick update on Bitcoin. I jumped on the last couple of weeks with Nick and Guy and spoke about the fact that I was seeing Bitcoin retrace towards 75K whilst Bitcoin was actually punching towards 82. So over the last couple of days, we've had that reaction and the rejection that we expected and came all the way down back towards 75K. Now, this was also the area of the double bottom formation that I was expecting to be tested. Now, for you guys that don't know, I love Fibonacci. I'm running that from the top of the range at 98,000 all the way down to the drop that took place on 6th of February, which was around the 59K mark. Now, we had a very good uptrend that was working towards Bitcoin's favor, but the fact of the matter was we never really broke above the 618 fib level, which was around 84K, nor did we break above the 200 EMA as well, which was at 82,000. So this was my expected rejection point, whilst we also had very clear bearish divergence. Every single time we've had bearish divergence from then on, from previous times, we've had Bitcoin reject quite heavily. So the same thing happened once again, and we had Bitcoin fall essentially 10%. Now, it's not all doom and gloom, but the situation is still very, very cautious because the fact that we've broken the uptrend, Bitcoin is now got a liquidity wick down towards the 74 to 75K area. This is the zone that needs to hold. But this is the kicker, and this is where I don't want people to get caught out because at the moment, yes, Bitcoin is holding, but this is the reality in which we face right now. And I want to show you guys this so you can see exactly what I'm looking at and to be very, very clear with what's happening. Watch for the potential lower high and the fake move on Bitcoin as it looks to reclaim the 79K area. Reality is, unless price breaks above this point at around 80K and retests and holds the 50 fib level, which is around 79,000, that there will then give us an opportunity for about a trade towards around the 84K Bitcoin level. Now, unless that happens, market structure can still remain bearish, and essentially price action puts in a lower high, price comes back and revisits the 74K area again. Altcoins will then take a massive hit. But there is a couple of coins that I'm watching at the moment. I just want to share with you quickly. I've only got a couple of minutes. I want to dive straight into it. People are getting all hyped up about HYPE. I went through this earlier with my community, my personal community. We traded this and we looked at this around the $28 mark. I'm not going to go in full scale of this, but we've hit the rejection point and the target in which I was at, which was $65. I'm now waiting for price to come back towards the $51 mark. So that's what I'm watching there on HYPE. The other big ones I wanted to show you guys is getting a lot of noise around Ondo. Ondo has pumped 80% out of the accumulation range after multiple order zones presented themselves, and the fact that it broke the sideways action, actually started to put in an uptrend formation and then had a large scale breakout about 80%. Now, see this formation here. Look at what Link looks like. Very, very similar. Accumulation has started to put in the high low off the order zone. I'm looking for a break above this, back towards $10 and then potentially $12 if price can hold and Bitcoin can move alongside with it. Remember, everything here is going to stem across Bitcoin. And then Solana as well, same formation, accumulation, sideways action, higher low, order zone, look for the breakout towards $94. If price gets above that point, it does open up a large gap towards 122. So I wanted to share that with you all today. I've had a great trading performance over the last 25 days. You can see it here. We're doing about 25 grand for the month. So we're going really well. Guys, take note. I am on Coin Bureau trading every single week for twice a week, Mondays and Wednesdays. So if you want to keep up to date, make sure you are following me on the socials and jumping on the Coin Bureau Trading podcast, because that's where we do go through this Mondays and Wednesdays. So see you there. Thanks. Bye.
Wow. Thanks, Matt. Great stuff. So we got to potentially look out for a breakout there on Link, Sol as well. So guys, if you're not following Matt, he streams twice every week over on the Coin Bureau Trading channel. So that we're going to link down below as well. Definitely go and check it out to get that alpha live. So Guy, what's going on here?
Well, I noticed that that Matt as well was wearing a vest. So obviously there was a dress code that I didn't get the memo about. So I've just had to improvise.
You're trying to fit in with the boys, eh?
Yeah, I just want to fit in.
You think it's just as easy as going with some sleeveless vests and you're going to get into the crew, bro?
Yes,
there's initiation going on here, mate.
I have classic t-shirt tan as well. Yeah, it's a bit much. Let's have a look then at some tweets of the week.
Let's roll.
Okay, first up, I don't think David Hoffman is a shitposting type. So, and this was accompanied by a tweet from Ryan, his co-host on Bankless, the excellent Bankless show, that he was going to be taking a bit of a break as well. But David was saying, has there been a huge vibe shift in CT over the last 2 weeks, or was that just me selling the last of my ETH?
I mean, from Bankless to ETHless. I mean, that's wild. That's wild. Things I didn't think I would see in 2026. Yeah. I mean, this is not on my bingo list.
If this is true, David, we're bookmarking this for. I think this is going to be one of the might be tweets of the cycle. Did not see that one coming. So that's David from Bankless. Next up, we have this one here from Shah. Can you explain this one, Nick? This is a sea of green, so this can't be crypto.
Yeah, sea of green. I think these are all stocks that Trump traded because it was disclosed last week that Trump was probably this guy, he was literally day trading in his brokerage account around important events like the CPI numbers, Fed meetings. And I mean, if you just traded Trump's book, you would have been up 426,000, whereas you held crypto and you're down 50%.
It's funny, but also it's quite sad. I mean, it's crazy, isn't it? I was trying to tell you, this is what you got to trade, this is what you got to do. Okay, next up, we have this one here. This Goldman Sachs, when institutional asset managers ask them to provide support for SpaceX's $2 trillion valuation.
Man, it's crazy though. It's a woozy, it's a wazi, it's a fugazi. By the way, it's crazy because in the prospectus, this is mad. There was a quote there that was literally out of science fiction to the extent that I can't remember the exact quote, but it was a term used for a civilization that can survive on the energy coming from its own sun, to the extent, capture that energy. And literally like a term that was it was a term that was given by some sort of a scientist, and it's a science fiction term now in a prospectus for SpaceX's ambitions in space. So, I mean, yeah. Shoot for the literally, shoot for the stars. Shoot for the stars.
That's going to be one of those things that really sort of makes you sound old in sort of decades from now, isn't it? It'd be like, I remember when the first ever space company IPO'd. Oh, those were the days. There was only one of them. By which point, sort of everyone will be in space. If you're not in space, you're nowhere. So yes, history is being made, folks. Okay, next tweet is this one from Value Time. Do you want to explain this one?
So this is last week. It was disclosed that Harvard sold $87 million. Its $87 million position in Ethereum, and Value in Time quote tweets it saying, "Quote: the smartest people in the world are dumping Ethereum." And then apropos this, and it's a great chaser to the shot, which is
it's a great picture as well, isn't it? So as Kaleo points out, Tom Lee and Bitmine are now down pretty much the same on their ETH holdings as was lost in the entire FTX wipeout.
Oh man, tough times, bro. Anyways,
crazy.
Dates for the diary. So today, as mentioned, it's Memorial Day. Markets are closed. Tomorrow we have the May consumer confidence data. Then on Thursday we've got the April PCE or inflation data with a 3.8% expected versus 3.5% previous. And then the core is 3.3% expected versus 3.2% previous. And we've also got Q1 GDP 2026 GDP data. And finally, yes, as you alluded to earlier, very sad day on Friday. Unfortunately, it's the end of the weekday CME futures contracts for Bitcoin, 24/7 futures. I will note there are still 4 unfilled gaps more recently that we got to fill these guys. What happens if we don't? I mean, maybe we can still come back and fill it at some point, but we will have no more gaps to close once we've closed these few ones going forward, because there won't be any more gaps because we're 24/7 crypto trading in CME futures.
We better get Claude or some other AI model to go back and trawl through all religious texts, all the writings of Nostradamus, and the like, just to check if there's anything mentioned about what happens if the CME goes to trading 24/7 without closing all the gaps. I mean, it may open a gate to hell for all we know.
It may. Remember the scare, the Y2K scare around computers would stop? You know, what could happen? Yeah, man. Maybe the world's, physics won't work anymore.
Physics will just break. We are not ready for this. We're gonna no amount of AI or quantum computing or nuclear fusion.
The laws of the universe will reverse immediately.
And Kian with some words of encouragement there, Nick. Nick, if you need to take Friday off to be alone with your grief, then look, we understand. Just take.
I love the saying. Yeah, I'm smiling. I hark back to those days, the nostalgia. I'll think about it every Monday morning when I wake up, when I used to check those gaps and hark on about how great it would be to fill them. Now it's just remember the memories.
The end of an era. The end of an era. Okay, well, that is Friday, folks. Make the most of those potential CME gaps while they last, because from Friday ain't no more. Which brings us, which feels like an appropriate note to end today's live stream on. So thank you everyone for joining. Nick, more bad news, I'm afraid. We didn't get to 30% likes, so I'm afraid you don't get a whole suit in that color.
Well, it's cool.
The people have spoken, they don't want to see you like that.
They don't want to see me in a suit. They want to see me in a vest. Okay, cool. So I'll just buy another colored vest for next week.
Yeah. Keep them guessing. Okay, folks. We will leave it there. It's lovely to see you. Thanks for joining. We will be back same time, same place. Maybe not the same color clothes. Who knows? Next week. See you then.
Cheers, guys.
The Bureau is officially open! Puberty hit Nick hard. No neck has grown the bum fluff and finker.
Great show. Thanks for the laughs. Great show. Thanks for the laughs.
I don't think people were ready for my pasty upper arm. Oh my word.
You gotta go to the gym, bro. I'm sorry, man.
Is that the hood? Or is that
it's a hood? Yeah, it's a hood. It's got a hood. You didn't know it had a hood?
I didn't know it had a hood.
You can protect your head. You gotta protect the dew, bro. I gotta protect the dew in the sun, you know?